to the Hit the Books reaction and review of Wonder
Wonder
Woman. Thanks for dropping by. If you're not familiar with the format, we will give a brief recommendation on whether or not you should see this or purchase it or check it out. And then we'll alert you to spoilers, and we'll go into spoiler territory and give our opinions and what we liked, what we didn't like, and we'll go from there. I'm one of your hosts, Chris.
I'm Emery.
And let's get started.
Yeah, let's.
So Wonder Woman, what'd you think, Emery?
Wonder Woman is honestly probably one of my favorite movies this year.
I agree.
And that is still coming off of, like, the months old, like, coming down from Logan. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think I like this movie better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, don't
For
get
our
me
audience, this is recorded on June 13th, 2017.
Yeah.
So we're about a week after launch.
Yeah.
A little more.
Yeah, about a week after Wonder Woman launched.
We meant to record it sooner, but we got busy and we just couldn't do it. So.
Yeah.
Now we're on track. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Nothing against Logan. Logan is a masterpiece. Except for that whole X-Men First Class that they were trying to shove down. Wonder Woman is probably what I would say is a return to form for DC making good movies. Because they used to make really good movies. Like the first 2 Superman movies. The first 2 Michael Keaton Batman movies. The other Batman movies.
The Nolan verse, basically.
Yeah. The Nolan Batverse, because no one else is in there.
Has DC made other I mean, they made Sucker Punch. Was that DC?
I don't think that was DC.
It just had Snyder.
Yeah. That was a Snyder thing.
Yeah. That was bad. That was real bad.
And much to the probably dismay and chagrin of you, I still like Man of Steel.
Constantine.
Not Constantine.
That was Vertigo still.
Yes.
So.
Man of Steel, I still like. And side point, honestly, I think that movie would have worked better if it was about Shazam.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
How about Steel? Nobody gives Steel its due.
It's due one thing, and that's the toilet. I'm sorry. No matter how much I like my favorite Irish actor, Shaquille O'Neal, Steel was a dumpster fire.
It was so bad.
How do you make a movie about a guy who was inspired by Superman and not have Superman in it? Like, don't get me wrong. You could have done something with that basketball player, but that?
I don't know. I don't think Shaquille O'Neal's a good enough actor to even headline a movie like that.
Yeah, no, he was like
that movie and like the Genie movie, and that was about it, right?
Yeah, the one that everyone keeps calling Shazam, but it's Kazam.
Yeah, the one that everybody thinks Sinbad was in, but it was really Shaquille O'Neal.
It hurts. It hurts me so deep.
And to be honest, I totally, like, in my memory, thought that was the case.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
it makes sense that they would put an actor in there.
I never watched it, but I remember always seeing it at Blockbuster and Family Video or whatever when I went to rent movies. Like, oh,
right.
There he is.
No,
I thought it was Shazam, and I thought
you thought it was Sinbad.
I thought it was Sinbad. I don't. But then I go back and I look, and I'm like, it was Shaquille O'Neal. Why did I think it was Sinbad? And why did I think it was Shazam?
When you put Shaquille,
I like the people that think it's like we're in an alternate dimension. Something catastrophic happened, and the movie doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I wish that was a thing.
That's always fun.
Yeah, when you put something like Shaquille O'Neal's real life problem of like not making free throws as like a plot point for this comic book character. Fuck that and fuck you.
I mean, all credit to him though that he like did it. You know?
I mean,
he
I could find a
he
tall
embraced the joke. You know.
Yeah, I could find a tall black dude and dress him in like Renaissance fair gear too. Give him a big ass hammer and totally skim over the whole John Henry Irons. We're never going to address that. We are never going to address that.
Putting all of our humorous rants aside.
Yes. Wonder Woman, the good one. That's right. If you're familiar with any DC movies, this is going to commonly be known as the good one.
Of the Snyderverse.
Oh, yeah.
I suspect Aquaman's going to be another one that surprises people.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the Snyderverse, which is... my heart goes out to you, Zack Snyder, for all of the personal things that are going on with you. That aside, business-wise, your movies suck. Okay, not all of them.
I'm trying to remember what all he's made.
300.
300 is good.
That was his claim to fame. He then did...
Too much CG, which is consistently a problem in all of his movies.
Yeah, it's that one... I think he might have...
Sucker Punch was terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. I think he had a hand in the Sin City... No, that was Robert Rodriguez. Never mind. What the hell else did he do?
I'm about to look this up.
Yeah.
I want to be on his side, but the stats aren't encouraging.
Yeah, no.
I liked what he was trying to do in Batman vs. Superman, and I think he just got handed a bad hand on that one. But
yeah,
I think
if he was able to...
It's clear they were trying, the studios were forcing him to try to shove as much as they could in, you know.
Yeah.
And I think
they didn't know whether or not they were going to basically have the money to keep doing this.
Yeah, and the advertising was terrible. They gave away every single plot point and every single surprise in the advertising, you know.
Yeah, that...
Even with the loaded movie, I think if they had kept some things secret until the end,
right,
it would have been more enjoyable for a lot of people and wouldn't have been criticized quite as much.
Yeah. With that being said, I think this is the one movie that actually looks like it was directed by a director that had the good fortune to only be directing one movie as opposed to one movie that should have been 6.
Watchmen.
Watchmen.
We missed the most obvious one. Watchmen's good.
Okay, can it really be directing if you're just taking comic book panels and making people act them out?
I mean, that's what he tried to do with BVS. And that didn't turn out quite as good.
Yeah, right.
Not saying that it wasn't. I'm sure we'll review it at some point, but BVS to me it was a good movie. Not great. There's a lot of problems.
There was a lot of potential.
CG, they ruined Lex Luthor. They put way too many plot points and villains and characters in it. But you know, Batman was cool. His scenes were cool, even though he's kind of murder bat.
I only have one rule. Actually, no, I don't.
Wonder Woman was kind of forced in that movie.
Oh, yeah, that walk-on part that she had.
Yeah, and the stupid scene with the kryptonite in the water. She almost drowns for no fucking reason, you know, and the sacrificial ending. And
here's the thing:
those were big issues, and the problem is they left you with all those issues at the end.
Yeah.
So that's the feeling you leave the movie theater with, instead of all the good that they built in the middle. You know,
there's no resolution.
So yeah, there was problems there.
Yeah. God.
All right, let's see here. Yeah, Watchmen is the big one we missed. He did the reboot of Dawn of the Dead.
Kind of hard to screw one of those up.
I never saw it, so, but I assume it's like every other.
Zombies.
He did the Owl movie,
again.
Legends of the Guardians.
The Guardians of Gahool.
And the upcoming Justice League, and that's it. So he's got about a 50-50 track record, I'd say. And that's not knowing what Legends of the Guardians was like.
Yeah. He has...
So Man of Steel.
Yeah.
BVS. guested on Suicide Squad, but did not do the whole thing because they kept switching directors, which was probably why the movie supposedly didn't turn out great.
We will talk about that movie another time.
I gotta see it.
Yeah, you do.
Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch. Yeah, so he's about 50-50 right now.
Yeah,
He's got
batting average.
Got about 2 really good ones, a few decent ones, and then
a couple that
then
everyone's
the
gonna
ones that are
argue
bad
about.
are really bad.
Yeah, Sucker Punch. There's no living that down.
So I mean that's respectable.
Yeah,
I
you can't win them all.
He just really needs to lay off the CG, I think.
Yeah, practical effects are okay. Those are a thing that we can do. I mean, those people need work, man. Come on. But yeah, Wonder Woman. I'm just going to get this comparison out of the way. I'm going to call her the Captain America of this universe.
Yeah, World War I instead of World War II.
Right. This is a character who has old-fashioned morals, who defends themselves with a shield and fights in like one of the old wars and comes out all right.
Yeah. I do think they played it well, though.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
We haven't... All right. Before all our tangents have put us at risk for spoilers. So
right.
Before we go any further, highly recommend it. See it in theaters.
Definitely see it in theaters.
There's a few goofy things in it, but that's every superhero movie.
We'll get
as far as superhero movies go, it's pretty darn good. And as far as the DC movies go, I haven't seen Suicide Squad, but it's probably the best of the current running track of the Snyderverse.
I will confirm that it's the best.
I don't agree that was better than Logan, but yeah. But I am a sucker for the X-Men movies. So.
Right.
There are exceptions.
Yeah. My issues with Logan, that's for another video.
Yeah. Which will be coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've owed you this for months now.
Oh, yeah. Rapid fire.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wonder Woman is a great movie. Wonderfully shot. Spoiler alert. Wee-woo, spoilers.
And also, might want to mention the first, I think, of the current DC movies that didn't do too much CG.
Right.
They did do a lot. It was a little bit too much, but it was as much as any other action movie.
Right.
It wasn't drowned in CG and dark filters and stuff like BVS was, and like Suicide Squad probably was.
Yeah.
Man of Steel, like Man of Steel was.
Yeah, Justice League. I really hope that you guys go and reshoot the shit out of that and bring as many practical effects in, because...
And I honestly think that there's just a bad company that works with WB.
Yeah.
Whatever company they contract out to do those CG effects, I just don't think they're not given enough time,
right,
or they're just not good at their job, because all of WB's CG stuff just looks terrible. And I can watch Jurassic Park and their CG, like on VHS, and their
back
CG
from the fucking 90s.
Their CG stuff looks better than the shit I saw on BVS. It looks more real than the stuff I saw on BVS. How is that possible?
Guys, I swear we're going to get it right.
Either they're not taking enough time.
That was the issue with Suicide Squad.
They're also not using enough practical effects when they clearly should have.
Yeah.
Or the company that they contract to do it for WB is just not good.
And you could kind of see some of that even in this movie.
So I don't know which it is. It could be something else completely that I'm not even considering because I'm not a digital artist. But yeah, WB, you got to figure it out, man. You got to find some new artists. You
got to get on this. Maybe poach some of the Marvel people. I don't care. I
mean, even the Marvel stuff doesn't look great, but it looks a lot better than the WB stuff.
Right. And Marvel isn't afraid of practical effects.
Yeah. So definitely consider it.
Yeah. Please.
But sorry, I keep sidetracking.
Oh, yeah. this movie has a lot going for it. And I'll say that the first 2/3 of the movie are stellar. There's like maybe one thing that I thought was kind of weird at the very beginning, but apart from that, like the first 2/3 of the movie are pretty stellar. Mm-hmm. It's that last third where we get a little goofball, which is fine. They do goofball right in this one. They do it in a way that's very, very comic booky, and comic booky in the right way, not in the we're going to have someone look like Doctor Doom for like no discernible reason. Comic booky. The spoilers. The villains in this movie, the primary villain, Ares, in case you haven't been told that already.
If you're going to talk about spoilers, we should probably wait till the spoiler section.
The spoiler section?
Yeah, just put them all together.
Okay.
We got to wrap this part up anyway. So.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, first 2/3, good. Back half, goofy, but in the good way. That's what I thought of it. What did you think?
Like I said, I think it's one of the best DC movies of the Snyderverse. Probably the best of the DC universe. Snyderverse movies. Not too much CG, which is great. Of course, they have a new director, so maybe that's a big part of it. I think all the actors did great. I think the person they cast as the main villain is probably not the best person. It came off pretty goofy, like you said.
Yeah, didn't expect it. Although I probably should have.
But I did enjoy the movie a lot, and I think it's a good sign going forward if we can maintain at least this level of quality for the upcoming movies. I don't anticipate it when I see the trailers for Justice League. I'm a little worried.
It's okay. Joss Whedon has it now. He's gonna.
That CG still looks so bad though, and the movie's already filmed.
Well, I mean, for the most part,
but just putting it together, I guess, right?
No, he's doing reshoots.
Really,
like a ton of reshoots.
Well, there might be hope.
Please reshoot the shit out of that movie, Joss Whedon. Bring us that magic.
Highly recommend it. Go see it. I would say it's my second favorite movie of the year.
Oh yeah. I think it definitely deserves that spot, at the least.
Mm-hmm. So, without further ado, let's go into spoiler territory. If you do not want anything to be spoiled, please do not watch past this. Or if you do want it spoiled, feel free to stick around. But I recommend you don't, because there are a few surprises. Some movies, you can kind of see what's going to happen, and there's not really any big surprises. But there is at least one pretty, maybe two significant surprises that you'll want to be kept secret from you. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So what scenes stick out for you? What characters stick out for you? Good or bad?
Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, is probably the glue that held this movie together.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
I think kudos to him. I thought he was going to be treated as the throwaway character. He's going to, be the kind of stereotypical equivalent of what has previously been the case in a lot of movies where you have the female character that's only there to be the love interest and really doesn't contribute anything else. But he wasn't really that. He was kind of like the grounded character that kept the audience, in the movie.
Yeah.
The human character that kept all these other crazy things in perspective. So while Wonder Woman was the main character and she did a great job, he was the guy that kind of kept us on the ground and added a little humor and in a good way, not a forced way.
Right.
He did a great job. I applaud him all the way. He did a great job as Steve Trevor.
Yeah, like he definitely rooted this movie for me.
I would love to see him more in Hollywood because I feel like I never see him.
Yeah.
He really impressed me with this movie. I didn't really think much of him until I saw this movie, and I'm like, wow, he's got some good chops.
Yeah.
Did a good job.
Chris Pine is the type of person to be unexpectedly good in very weird places.
I'm not familiar with his cinematography, so I don't know.
Did you see the rebooted Star Trek?
No. I saw part of it, but it just rubbed me the wrong way because I'm such a Next Generation fanboy,
right?
And when I saw that they're like taking the original Star Trek, the one that I don't feel as strongly about, and not only taking that but making it into this big like flashy epic instead of like the
iPod
kind of thoughtful,
thoughtful,
like I don't know, kind of rooted in reality sci-fi. You know,
yeah.
I don't know that it rubbed me the wrong way. I did see the first one on TV, so it was edited probably, but I didn't. I don't even remember what the main plot was. I wasn't very. But I love Next Generation, so
yeah.
If they're gonna reboot,
please redo Next Gen.
I want to see who plays Patrick Stewart's character, Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard,
and more importantly,
of the USS Enterprise.
Who plays number 1? You gotta push out the chest, raise the knee. Get the man gut.
Let's find our Captain Morgan. Can I call him Captain Morgan?
Captain Morgan.
Because he did that everywhere.
Number Morgan.
Number Morgan, I order you to take a number 2.
I loved him. He was so great.
We need that.
I saw him recently in an episode of Criminal Minds, I think.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, God, man, he's so old now. It made me sad because like I want him to be that like
that same dude.
Ultra-sexual 90s, you know?
Yeah, that was like late 80s, early 90s when that was a
yeah.
thing. Oh, God.
It was so good.
I want that back. But yeah.
Sorry, I keep sidetracking you.
Yeah. So, Chris Pine, that was one of the other things that he did was the reboot Star Wars. Not Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm sorry. Internet, don't kill me. He did the sequel.
Totally forgot he was in the Star Trek.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw Horrible Bosses.
No.
He was in the sequel, and he was probably the best thing about that sequel.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's done some other things here and there, but he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I loved him. He did a great job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. His character.
The no scope.
Yeah.
We'll go into that later.
Yes, we will. Part of the goof, again, we'll get into that later, but he was one of my favorites. Like, it was him, and actually, like, I keep wanting to call him, like, Dude Peggy Carter, since if I'm going to keep comparing this to, like, Marvel's first Captain America movie, that's kind of the role he filled-ish. Him and the rest of DC's Howling Commandos, they were all great. The Arabic, like, actor, translator, swindler type. That dude from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He was the Irish guy who's like the sniper who for some reason wasn't taking the shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the kind of battle fatigue thing going on.
Yeah. And then you had the Native American smuggler in Britain for some reason.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Let's throw everyone in here. They were great.
Yeah, they were all great.
I loved every single one of them.
I even loved the secretary. It was the comedic relief, you know.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, I thought she was cool.
Yeah, she was pretty cool. I also loved who I thought was going to be the main villain, General Ludendorff. It's so rare these days that you get a villain who's evil for evil's sake.
See, this is where I probably disagree with you, and probably why we don't agree about it being better than Logan.
Probably.
For me, the one thing that consistently pulled me out of this movie, and almost pushed me to that edge, was the dynamic between Ludendorff and Professor Poison or Dr. Poison.
I think it was Dr. Poison.
Dr. Poison. I feel like they could have been cool characters, and for sections they certainly were cool characters.
Yeah.
But there's a scene, I think you know what I'm talking about, where they go to assassinate the German generals that are going to negotiate the treaty.
Yes.
And they throw the gas in there, and and one gas mask just to torture them. And when she asks him why he threw the gas mask in there, and he goes, "So they realize it doesn't work," or something along those lines. And then they literally hunch over, put their hands in front of themselves, and cackle villainously outside the door. It was just.
Okay.
It was completely stupid. And why did they put this in the movie? Why did this make if he had said
that made the cut,
just so
that shot made the cut.
If they had ended it at just right when he said, "So they realize it won't work."
Yeah.
And then cut to him walking away.
Yeah.
And maybe at most, Professor Poison, Dr. Poison, smirks or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's it was so over the top and out of place. Because the rest of the movie, most of it was fairly grounded and pretty, for what it was, believable.
Right.
And
those two same villains were actually very muted for every other scene, except for that one. But
they pull the Dr. Evil thing, It was just so over the top and so out of place.
Yeah.
I really wish they hadn't had that one scene in there. If they cut that out, I don't know if I was the only one, but I hysterically laughed at that scene. I could not help it. And I think you did too.
Oh, yeah. I hysterically laughed it and loved every second of it.
I did not.
It's this was this made me think of stories or really old cartoons from the early 19th century, 1920s, 1930s, when it was all campy and fun, and we're gonna get that guy who's being a bad guy, and you've got moxie, you're gonna go far. that type of thing. Back during a time when villains were simple, heroes were simple. That was the thing I think I appreciated the most about this movie, is that it was simple.
I do like that Ludendorff was basically snorting cocaine the entire time.
Power cocaine.
Cocaine, yeah.
Superpower cocaine.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
It's
I'm gonna fuck myself up. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, what are you? What are those?
I do cocaine.
Cocaine, baby.
But
Gives
sorry,
me
again
powers.
Sidetracking you. Go
oh
on.
yeah. Oh yeah. That very scene. That very scene where it's they threw a gas mask into a room where they threw in the evil gas mask eating gas.
Mm-hmm.
It's why
super gas.
It's why did you throw the gas mask in there? It doesn't work. They don't know that.
Yeah, it was too much. It was too much.
I mean, this movie had scenes like that, but then it also had amazing, universally loved scenes, like the Diana and Steve on a boat together.
Yeah, again, one of the few goofy things. I'm like, well, that's convenient. You just went from somewhere in the Mediterranean to, probably close to Turkey, because that's where you just were.
That's where you should be.
And you somehow found a tugboat that night. Well, what I'm assuming was that night to London.
It was World War I. I'm assuming boats were just a thing, a heavy thing.
But that's a long trip. I don't know if you can make it to London in a sailboat that quick, even with a tugboat.
Okay, probably not. But still,
so that was a little silly to me.
I mean, how they got to London.
And then she walked into the banquet with a sword in her dress. Like nobody
and
noticed.
no one said a damn thing.
So,
it was a simpler time back then.
and all the Germans spoke English at the banquet. No English people here, by the way.
Okay.
All Germans.
To be fair, Germans have always been multilingual.
But why the English are the current enemy? Why are you...
that's a fair point. They
like,
should have been speaking German.
Let's make it easier to spy on us.
Yeah. I think what we were going for was, let's make it easier for people to watch.
Yeah, it was a little too heavy, a little too goofy at some parts. Thankfully,
A little bit.
when goofy stuff did happen, as they do in every superhero movie, it was in small doses, so I could kind of suspend my disbelief a little bit.
Right.
And get away with it. Because I was enjoying the movie.
Yeah.
It kept me engrossed. It kept me thrilled and happy to see what was coming next. And I liked all the characters. There wasn't a single character I disliked. The main villain, I thought was a goofy choice. But
Like how they represented that main villain was done goofy.
yeah,
It was very goofy.
But I did like his character.
Yeah.
I liked how he acted. I liked who he was and how he behaved, and he was believable. I just thought
it was a
for a Greek god, it was kind of a goofy choice. Again, if you haven't watched the movie, don't listen.
yeah. Don't listen. This is spoiler territory. Like heavy, deep spoilers.
But this was probably the second goofiest thing in the movie to me. When they reveal that the kind of like button-nosed, mustachioed London Briton guy in a bowler hat is really Ares. And that was a cool twist. Yeah, I think that maybe it would have been a good idea to change his appearance, his face a little bit. When he came through, because it was just goofy. Like if it was just like an appearance, if like this was the projection of the appearance he was wearing at the time,
like,
I could understand that.
Yeah.
But no, they show a flashback
Of
where
him
he's
with that
fighting
same
Zeus,
face.
where he's fighting Zeus with the same button-nosed, mustachioed, pale white face for a Greek god. A god of war.
His same face, but just jacked.
Yeah, just digitally enhanced jackedness.
Like,
and it didn't click for me. I don't know.
Yeah, David Thewlis, I think, is the name of that actor.
Yeah, and he did great. I don't want to belittle him. His acting was fine.
His acting was fine.
His face and the even if they hadn't shown him with that face in the flashback, I would have been fine. But the fact that they put that face in the flashback, in the full armor, and his fucking jacked muscles from fighting Zeus, like, that's when I was like, okay. A little goofy.
They have to know it's him.
Yeah.
He has to get supervillain cred.
Mm-hmm. And then they showed the scene where she's walking towards the sunset or whatever, but she's in high heels. And I always find that stupid in movies, like the Underworld movies, for example. I love those movies, but she's always in high heels for no reason. That's not practical. It's not reasonable.
Right.
It's not reasonable for a fucking Greek goddess to be walking in stiletto heels while she's fighting in a war in the countryside of Europe.
I wanted to
muddy
say those were like combat wedges, but those aren't a thing. Combat wedges aren't a thing.
I know.
With that being said, we just wanted her to be tall. That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
We wanted Wonder Woman to be tall, and we achieved that.
But I mean,
with shoes.
You can do that in scenes where they're together. Just don't show the boots. But they literally like emphasize from the boots up. In that last scene where she's walking towards him, and I'm like, it just looks goofy. It's just unnecessary. It's just silly things, you know?
Yeah.
And I get historically they refer riders in medieval times, but again, medieval times, not ancient Greece.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best you had was nails in the bottom of your sandals, you know?
She should have been sword and sandal. Like, legit sandal.
At the most, maybe some leather boots that they bought in London or something, But like,
it's like something repurposed for
wearing
combat.
These high heel stilettos, like, come on, man. She's a cool character. Like, don't.
Gal Gadot. That's how you say her name, by the way.
Yeah, I found that out on NPR. Thanks, NPR.
Thank you, NPR, for letting us know how to say it. Gal Gadot. Acting-wise, she was great. She was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she was good.
She did the whole fish out of water in London thing, and like earnest, like do-gooder thing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And fun fact, she has like Gal Gadot actually has military experience.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, she was in the Israeli army, right?
Yeah. That. For those of you who don't know, when you grow up in Israel, being a part of the army is a requirement. She was great.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
Liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But my problem, and I had this problem in all the preview images and in BVS, is they cast, a skinny supermodel, which is what they, typically do with lead characters. And not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but to me, she doesn't look like a super-powered goddess that has been training for battle her entire life. I thought
that was my biggest gripe with this movie.
Every
other woman on that island,
every single one was jacked.
Yeah, except for her.
Every other woman, every other Amazon was jacked, looked like they were battle hardened, looked the part, like performed the part, acted the part. Especially her aunt, who, in my opinion, was like the second best character in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, easily.
But she just stood out as like kind of out of place on the island scenes because she was just kind of scrawny, lanky, super thin, woman that was artificially propped to be taller among all these other women that are clearly, fucking ripped.
Yeah. These other women who were training to basically be other Wonder Women.
Yeah. So I think that there was a little bit of upstaging almost in the earlier scenes because she wasn't the coolest character on the island. She wasn't the most badass woman on the island. She wasn't the one that I was necessarily the most inspired by.
Yeah. The rest of the movie, after we leave the island, she gets to be that, but that's only, honestly, because the other women aren't there to overshadow her.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, very minor complaint. Not a big deal. Still loved the movie. Still loved her in the movie.
Yeah, as far as
quieted a lot of my concerns. It's still like, that's kind of silly. She's wearing high heels and she's super scrawny and,
yeah,
she looks like the thin supermodel, which she probably put into her contract to not have to look too buff like the other woman. And when she was in the scene with the other Amazons, it was very clear, that she wasn't putting in as much work.
Yeah, which honestly, that was to her disadvantage.
Yeah.
With that said, minor gripe.
Yeah, again, very minor gripe. It's just one of those things in the background that you just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, it's like, still good.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, great job. She wasn't my favorite character in the movie, which is, I guess, a little disappointing since she's supposed to be the lead character.
Yeah.
I thought her aunt, is it Antiope? Or Antiope?
I think it was Antiope.
I can't remember how to pronounce it. But Robin Wright's character,
Yeah.
From The Princess Bride. Just found that out.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. Totally didn't realize it was The Princess Bride. But she was so awesome. She was so badass. And even like the extra characters that were training with her. Badass, awesome, loved them.
Yeah.
Chris Pine did a great job, loved him. The crew that they served with, the Middle Eastern guy and the Native American guy and the Scottish guy, the Scottish sniper, all awesome. Loved all the characters, even like the secretary probably a little more than I liked Wonder Woman. Again, not saying she's a bad character. She was a good character.
Yeah.
But every character other than Gal Gadot just kind of outshined her a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Just seemed a little more interesting to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, you know. I always have to suspend, even as a DC guy who loves Wonder Woman, even I have trouble dealing with the kind of background that Wonder Woman has. The name is, 1940s kind of goofy. She's a mythological person that stems from mythological gods. I like in the comics now how they kind of have the approach that gods are basically just super enhanced people,
from olden times.
Yeah, Superman could be considered a god if he had lived in these ancient times because their powers are kind of on par,
Yeah, basically like an old heroic age of like people with powers.
Yeah.
That's what the gods were.
So I like that aspect. I don't like it when they get real goofy with it and like, oh no, all this stuff is happening in the real world, but no, there's also gods that are still on Earth doing their thing. And it seems kind of silly to me. And then there's always another god from another, book. Like Green Lantern, there's a guy at the fucking beginning of time that just like, who is apparently a god.
The first lantern.
Yeah, the fucking guy who created the color spectrum or whatever. All that nonsense. It's just all these sorts of things that just are inconsistent and goofy, and why
right.
I've always struggled to like Wonder Woman in her own context. I love her in other contexts when she's in other people's books.
Yeah.
She's badass. I love her in the Justice League books, the team books, whatever. But when she's
by herself,
I even like the New 52 run, which was really good. I like every once in a while I'll just be like, ugh. I don't know if I'm digging this or not.
It's like all of these gods.
It's just a little too goofy, And I do like the context where there's the family drama with the gods or whatever.
Yeah.
But only when they're kind of, superhumans. They're not literally, godly or whatever.
I think this movie, actually,
this movie seems to be going in the direction of literally godly.
Yeah, that's I think leading to probably my biggest gripe with this movie is the end.
Yeah, I think the end was probably the weakest part. The final parts of the final act. I do like aspects of it. I like what the crew was doing. I like what Chris Pine was doing for the end. And again, spoilers, but Chris Pine basically sacrifices himself to prevent these super gas from being dropped on London. Which kind of sucks because I was hoping that maybe he'd still be around.
Me too.
And then like the following scene would be like her visiting him in a nursing home or something,
Yeah. Or maybe saying something about like, oh, it's like I remember the other adventures that we had together, or something.
Or maybe
like
setting
that.
up like a sequel or something,
Yeah.
But no, they got rid of him, which kind of sucks because he was probably my favorite character in the movie.
Mine too.
But yeah, it was. I think I mentioned my few gripes. Things I loved about the movie. I loved the characters, loved the actors. Everybody did a great job. I liked that Ares wasn't Ludendorff. Is that his name?
Ludendorff. Yeah.
Ludendorff. I kind of wish Dr. Is it Doctor or Professor?
It's Doctor. Yeah.
I kind of wish Dr. Poison had more of a role. She was just kind of like, they kind of frame her early in the movie that she's going to be the one to watch for most of the movie.
Yeah.
You kind of know that, oh, okay, Ares is coming. They let you know that early in the movie. But I had kind of hoped for something more from her, except, and all I ended up getting was kind of like staring at the camera in horror from time to time, and then the goofy laughing part, and that was about her contribution. And
yeah,
I don't even know if she's a good actor or not.
She was just kind of there.
She didn't do a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Another goofy scene, the no scope on the beach, where the Germans just apparently decide that we're gonna storm this beach
that we just found
because reasons.
Just because.
Not to mention you have cannons on your ship. It might be a good decision to shoot a few before you go on that beach filled with people with bows and arrows. But I guess the ship sank or something. I vaguely remember seeing the ship sinking in the background, but
yeah.
If that's the case, fucking sit in your rowboats and shoot them. They can't shoot those arrows as far as you can shoot a rifle. So I don't know. That was a little silly. It was cool seeing the Amazons go all out. It was literally just an excuse to have the Amazons go all out.
Oh yeah,
because otherwise they wouldn't have done anything. You know?
Right. You have to see them in action.
But there's the part on the beach, which totally takes the air out of the epic death of Robin Wright's character.
Yeah.
You know, that moment should have been a heavy, significant moment. But it's completely ruined because as he's running towards her, without looking, he just puts his rifle up to his left. Not even in his shoulder, just to his left, and pulls the trigger, and it somehow shoots the dude to his left as he's running to Wonder Woman, mourning over her aunt, you know. And I was fine when he saved Wonder Woman, who was mourning over her aunt, you know. Shooting the guy who was trying to shoot her makes sense. But as he's running to like embrace her and get her attention,
a running no scope,
blam! He never even looked in the direction. Never even looked in the direction. And like, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it was just so over the top goofy.
Yeah, I think that's becoming more of a thing. Is like doing the no look.
And it completely took all the air out of that moment. That could have been a really nice moment, like a really good part of the early film.
Right.
And it especially was, I don't know, the people in front of us at the movie theater got angry because I couldn't help myself. I hysterically laughed. Everybody else in the theater, at least the majority of people, were kind of, you know, trying to, oh, she's dead, you know. But I was hysterically laughing because I could not help it how stupid it was that in that moment, they literally deliver the lines immediately after he does this, where you're supposed to be sad. And I was hysterically laughing because it was so goofy and so unexpected and so unnecessary.
That was a bad cut. So they should not have kept that scene.
It's just, again, silly things that drag this movie down from where it could have been even greater, I think. Other things I liked about it, I liked the dynamic of her going through London. I liked how she was compassionate for the people, you know, like the kids and stuff when she saw them. She had compassion for the soldiers when she saw the soldiers coming back all injured and stuff.
Yeah.
I love that aspect. I loved how the group worked together and how they, you know, each had their own unique identity.
Yeah.
I liked how when Wonder Woman's talking to the Native American guy about, she asks, you know, who did that to your people or whatever. I can't remember the exact context when he's talking about how people, you know, killed and displaced his people or whatever. And he points to Chris Pine, the guy that she's so affectionate for, and goes, his people did that. And then she has like a new, you know, layer of gray on top of a character and a people that she doesn't know yet, but she, you know, like has compassion for.
Yeah.
And it added dynamics that I didn't expect in a DC
I was not
Snyderverse
expecting
movie.
Like any of those like scenes where they got really deep.
Yeah,
in,
like the shell-shocked Scottish guy, like, that was cool, where he had the, you know, the shell-shocked guy just, he was having tremors and stuff, you know, he had to regain his, I guess, intestinal fortitude to, you know, get back in the fight.
Yeah.
They
with the rigors of like actual war.
Yeah, they put a lot of depth into characters that they really didn't have to, and I appreciated that. And as a viewer, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought, you know, even the Amazon characters, you know, Hippolyta. I think Hippolyta was probably the weakest character out of the entire movie. Dr. Poison is probably the weakest just because she didn't get a chance to do much, but
Hippolyta probably the second weakest.
Yeah, I think Hippolyta was pretty weak for me. Yeah, she was fine. She didn't do anything wrong, but
there wasn't much there.
I didn't really particularly enjoy her character either,
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything else that.
There's one thing that, in thinking about it, I think it still continues to chap my ass now that I am putting it into perspective. So, deep spoilers. Wonder Woman beats Ares.
Surprise.
So the context for her wanting to beat Ares is that she is blaming him for the war even being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks that the minute she beats him, the war is going to be over and that there isn't going to be any more war. And she beats him. And for some reason, all of the Germans feel like they look like they're coming out of a trance.
Oh,
or like a coma or something.
This was probably what I hated the most about the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the goofy stuff that bothered me, but I still enjoyed it in a comical way.
Yeah.
This part, I think you're getting to this point. Sorry to cut you off, but
oh yeah, please.
That part bothered me so much because I loved it when she killed Ludendorff. Ludendorff.
Yeah.
Whatever. German nonsense. When she killed Ludendorff, thinking he was Ares. And she saw that the people were still fighting, that it didn't change a goddamn thing, that all this effort was for nothing, and that humans are still capable of great evil on their own terms. I love that.
I would have appreciated it had they left it there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when she defeats the real Ares and the soldiers are and the sun's rising, I'm like, no, that you just ruined the cool message you had. You just, you had Chris Pine's character showing, you had Steve Trevor showing Diana that humans are not so black and white. There's gray. And what they need to do is, push themselves and be pushed in the right direction, not towards war, but towards, peace and, understanding and whatever else, you want to throw in there. And that they are still capable of great evil if they are guided by the wrong hand or if some kind of catalyst pushes them in that direction, And it would give her a basis going forward that is what her character's mission should be, to prevent things like this from happening. And when she kills Ares and the trance comes off of them, I really, my heart just sunk because I was like, that could have been a great message. Because now you took all this complexity that you have been building up this entire film with the, Native American stuff and the shell-shocked guy and the daughter dynamic where she's trying to protect her daughter, even though she's been destined to do this, even going to the extent of lying to her daughter about her origins and all these things. And showing that, men in London could be both good and bad, and could... the world is not as black and white as it may appear. And then they just remove it with magic. Magic. And then I think we both laughed when they said something along the lines that now that Ares is gone, this will never happen again. So we're just going to pretend like World War II doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
that was the thing that really chapped my ass was that, are you saying that, okay, if what they said is true, World War II cannot possibly be a thing in this world. It can't.
Which is ridiculous.
It's absurd. It is literally insane that is the stance they took.
Yeah, and it gets worse because you think about what happened in BVS, where we got Murder Bat.
Right.
And Man of Steel, where we got Murder Steel. Murder Man. Where, Superman literally decimated an entire city in collateral damage and then murdered the main villain, and trying to save a guy, but still. And then we have Batman, who is literally fucking shooting people and fucking blowing them up and fucking stabbing them and whatever else, you know.
Are we in the Flashpoint universe? I think we're in the Flashpoint universe.
So I'm thinking to myself, even if they use this magical explanation, it clearly didn't work.
Right.
In the far future, they're still killing a lot of people.
Oh my god.
So we know that World War II probably happens in this universe, because why wouldn't it?
Right. There's only one way that this whole thing could possibly work, and that's if Ares isn't really dead.
But then it takes the significance
of her actually killing Ares out. They wrote themselves into a corner, and you know what? I'm just going to go with that first ending. I'm going to go with that first ending.
Yeah. I really, really wish that when she had killed Ares, she realizes all she did was take away one of the guiding influences, one of the hands that was trying to manipulate things. Because he was in, the parliament, or whatever the equivalent was at the time.
Right, supposedly negotiating peace.
Yeah, when in reality he was trying to push the war further. That's great. That's a great premise. Yeah. Don't destroy that by making everybody suddenly awake. If they had woken up and the Germans were like, fuck, and they got scared and ran away or something.
Right.
Okay, I can buy that. Hey, they just saw two gods literally fighting it out and blowing up everything, and they're surrounded by poison gas. If something goes wrong, we're fucked. But instead, it's like, I see the light now. Not to mention this woman just killed a bunch of us. Not to mention that there's 3 dudes hiding behind a truck just murdered a ton of us. Not to mention that the fucking American dude went up in the plane, killed our pilot, and blew up the plane.
I mean, the more I think about it, the more it hurts.
If they had either been aggressive and tried to attack her or whatever, or if they had gotten scared and run away, either one would have been fine. Or if they passed out from the magical blast or something, anything would have been better than, the magic is gone from my eyes.
It's lifted. I can finally love my fellow man.
There will never be war again. And I'm like, no. You had such a good damn thing going. Why'd you do it? So
it hurts.
In conclusion, for me, there was so much right with this movie. And more so than BVS. BVS, I defend it even today that there was a lot of good in the movie. They just ruined it at the end. Wonder Woman came dangerously close to doing that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I enjoyed the movie so much leading up to it, and they didn't drown it in CG effects, and they had some really, really good actors playing really, really good characters, and there was a lot of complexity in the writing beyond the few goofy parts that it kept it above water for me to, still in the first, like you said, 2 acts are great.
Yeah.
Third act has great aspects, but they just stomp all over them with that ending.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend this movie. It's a great movie. If you're invested in DC at all, go see this movie, support this movie. It's great. Actors are great. Directions seem great, with the exception of a few cuts they probably should have made.
Right. The only issue, like the biggest issue, was honestly just the writing for that last third.
That last part, yeah. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
In retrospect, I now think Logan's better.
Thank you.
It took me a second to really go back and think about it. And like,
to be fair, it's been almost 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so it's still a little fuzzy in our mind, but
it's a little fuzzy.
As we were talking about it, more and more, I completely forgot the fucking soldier part at the end. So when you started bringing it up, I'm like, oh, click, 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 click. I remember hating this. I hated it so much I blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah. I think there was like a portion of this where I kind of was a little bit blind to I didn't want to realize that was there, but it is. We have to call it like we see it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you're on the right track. DC, you are on the right track. This is your bar.
I hope Justice League is good. I don't have much hope for it based on the trailers, and I hope they don't spoil anything else like they did with BVS.
I hope
they did good with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman, great
think-
movie, deserves your watch.
I suspect Aquaman will be cool, and I have a special place in my heart for New 52 style Aquaman. So seeing the bearded, over the top, tattooed Aquaman at first was like, it's a little jarring, but I can see why they did it for the appeal to mainstream culture or whatever. Yeah. And like the more I see of him, the more I like him.
Yeah, they give him like the full armor too.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to Aquaman.
So that should be good.
Yep.
All of the DC movies have a very specific problem that either does or almost ruins the entire movie. And again, I haven't seen Suicide Squad. You have, so maybe you can tell me if it's still the case across the board. But
it is.
With Man of Steel, there's the tornado scene that is just over the top dumb and just takes me right out of the movie. Makes me hate this version of Superman, because Superman would not let his father die because of a vague hand symbol in a tornado. He can travel faster than those people can see. Those people already know he has superpowers. Even if he didn't know he had super speed or something, he could still run out and cover him because he knows damn well he's invulnerable.
Yeah, the point of Superman is that even if he doesn't know he can, he will always attempt. Mm-hmm. And technically, he's supposed to succeed with every attempt that he does.
And, the way that Jonathan Kent usually dies in the comics is that, of natural causes, usually of some kind of heart attack or something. And that humanizes Superman. That makes him realize that with all his superpowers, with all his abilities, with all his godlike power, he still cannot save everyone, and that he is still a victim of age, time, and natural causes. He may be able to stop Lex Luthor from taking over the world, but he can't, in all his infinite power, stop cholesterol from filling his dad's heart and killing his dad and stopping his dad's heart. So it humanizes him and makes him feel like he is a man. He is somebody who is fallible, and he is somebody who must realize that he can't save every single person, that he can't save everyone, and that he may not be able to always do the right thing.
Right.
But when he just, he's a full-grown adult. He's not even a kid at this point. He's a full-grown man. The entire town knows that he lifted a bus out of the river.
As a child.
And we'll probably see him working on the farm, throwing tractors and shit,
He could have tried. At the very least, he could have tried.
The newspaper reporter didn't even have to try. Lois just like, oh, you're Superman. Hi, what's up? So clearly everybody knew. Like, there's nothing to hide. Even if you don't want to run faster than people can perceive, or, make it look like he got swept up and just, reappear later. You're good, man. Save your dad. That's just dumb. It was the worst excuse to kill the father and give him like a tragic backstory. It was just the worst. And then Batman vs. Superman does this to a lesser extent, but it does it several times.
Oh yeah.
Where we have the scene on the mountain where he's hallucinating about the dad he let die in a tornado. In my opinion, killed.
Oh yeah.
And then Batman murdering just everybody, and then we have the Doomsday nonsense, and then we have the Lois Lane diving in the water and almost drowning for no apparent reason to get this stupid thing that anybody else could have gotten. And then Superman dying completely unnecessarily and without being earned in any context. Just, again, much less significant stupidity, in my opinion, than the one Man of Steel thing, the major Man of Steel thing. But there was just so much of it, and it was so much.
It was
built up at the end.
It was peppered, and then
just dumped.
Yeah, it came into a mess. And here's the thing that, and this is a phrase that I'm probably going to be using across several reviews. My ass got chapped by this one. And the specific thing that chapped my ass about this one was, so the first movie, the one preceding this, Man of Steel, definitely had a, for lack of a better phrase, a very Jesus-y feel to Superman.
Sure.
Yeah. It was like the whole, like, we have to hide his powers because, you know, the people are going to, like, want to do stuff to him type deal. For, like, if you haven't seen BVS, come on, you should have seen it by now.
Yeah, I'm not giving you spoiler warnings for BVS.
Yeah.
It was like 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Probably 2 years.
Getting,
3 years.
like, stabbed in the chest, sacrificing himself for all of man.
Yeah.
In order to kill the Doomsday, not the gray pointy Hulk. This was a theme that Zack Snyder was very intent on keeping throughout, you know, his interpretation of Superman. Unfortunately, it's all done poorly, out of place, and it doesn't hold water. And you have this right next to a Batman who is very strongly alluded to. He's a survivor of at least losing one Robin. And as a result of that, he has no scruples with straight up murdering people. In fact, one of those last scenes, he probably murdered like an entire room full of people by himself in like a minute.
Now, see, like, again, I see that as a minor thing as opposed to the Man of Steel, where the Man of Steel thing, like, just the core of the character was completely ruined for me.
Yeah.
'Cause that just made me, like...
It's a poor representation of what
Clark
Superman
Kent is a complete asshole. That's, like, he's not the redeemable, like, you know, every character should have some kind of fallibility, but that was just beyond fallibility. That was just common sense, you know?
Yeah.
You have two people on this planet that know about you and understand you and give a shit about you, and you just let one die because you interpreted his slight hand gesture as a no, you should stay there, not save me, even though you could very easily save me and not have hardly any consequences.
I mean, that could have been a please take my hand.
Yeah. Like
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. Just I don't know. And that Wonder Woman, the original point, that ending where Ares' death lifts this veil off these German soldiers, it
came so close.
It came dangerously close.
Oh.
Dangerously close to being that moment for me. Because after so much goodwill had been built up on this movie, and maybe my expectations were low, and that's why I enjoyed it so much, but I enjoyed so much of the movie leading up to this point, and that just threatened to leave me with that final moment. Thankfully, they had some scenes afterwards to like help me, you know, wash it out of my system before the credits rolled. But if they had left it there, that would have stuck with me so hard, and I would have had so many problems.
I would have.
That would have left me with a really bad feeling, and possibly been that moment for me. And thankfully, it was just kind of subtle, and it wasn't forced. If they had made it any more significant,
yeah.
If they had shown like battlefields across Europe where people were just, you know, if they had really gone all out with it, that would have really pushed me to the edge. But
yeah,
that came, like you said, that came dangerously close to being that moment for that movie. You saw Suicide Squad. I don't know if there's something like that in Suicide Squad, but
for Suicide Squad, or as I like to call it, a series of montages that was almost a movie. Again, you should still see it, no matter what I say about it.
Yeah,
you should still see it.
I'm the DC guy. I gotta see it. I gotta quit stalling.
Yeah, that movie has it has a fatal flaw, and that's basically the villain, or actually the couple of villains. I mean, there's one villain that you see throughout the entire time, and mind you, this is a villain to the villains. This is like, out of all of these bad guys who are known for doing bad shit, and mind you, hilariously, this is a movie about a bunch of bad guys doing good shit. It's like, are any of you villains really? You all seem like people who are just kind of misunderstood, I guess.
Which is a good premise. I mean,
right.
Which is why I was so excited for it leading up to the movie, and then the reviews started coming out, and I was just like, I don't want to ruin this for myself.
Right. The thing that kills it for me is when I look at the cast and realize it's nothing but a series of stereotypes. So you have Deadshot, which in this universe is played by Will Smith. Nothing against him.
We should probably say this if you're going to go all out. We should probably save it for the review.
Okay. Well, we'll save that for the review, but is like their black guy who's good with guns. Crazy white lady. Australian man who's literally called Captain Boomerang.
That's just DC, though.
Yeah, that's just DC.
DC's old-fashioned. They can't help but be goofy in naming things.
Right.
Which I may bring up on the podcast.
Yeah. A spicy Mexican. A Japanese woman literally named Katana. I could go on, but man, guys, quit it. And that's before getting to the whole, like, why did we cut out all of the good stuff with the Joker in it?
So, what you seem to be getting at is there's a whole lot of issues.
Yes.
Okay.
That one's laden with issues. But I think the fact that it looks like a plot that's been kind of done before, but this time just a little worse. And, like, the villains is two villains, which are, like, the person making them do all this shit via tiny bombs, and the wizard lady who, like, starts working it in order to do her magic. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. There's barely any setup. They probably would have been better had they had more time to make this movie, but this was like this was the fatal flaw. It was rushed. And it's pretty obvious that it was rushed and made by a guy who normally does music videos. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You tried.
To be fair, the trailer was a really good music video.
It was. It was. They know how to do that. As far as extending that until like an hour and a half, get someone else.
So, final thoughts. Wonder Woman, great movie. Many goofy parts. Possible fatal flaw in the ending. But it didn't quite manage to ruin it for me. Final fight was fine. It was good. A few goofy things about the things surrounding it, but that was about it. You know, the final sacrifice of Steve Trevor, great. You know, it was cool. It was appropriate, unexpected. I didn't think he was gonna end up dying or something.
Yeah.
So I totally didn't see that one coming. I liked it a lot. Best DC Snyderverse movie yet, and I hope they keep this momentum going and try maybe downplay a little bit of the goofy nonsense. But we'll see.
And can we have an ending that makes sense?
For once.
Just
out of
one time.
We've had 4 now. Give us one, please.
Please. Aquaman, you could be the one.
But the next one in line is Justice League. Till next time.
Yep.
Hit the
Until
books.
next time.